Today, I want to ask you something that might catch you off guard, but it's worth thinking about. Have you ever caught yourself putting faith in something more than God? Maybe you're not totally sure. Maybe there's a quiet voice telling you, yeah, that's me. If that resonates with you today, then this message was made just for you. I want to share with you a story from the Bible, one that you may have heard or may not have heard before, but if you did hear it, it might have been one that you never really stopped to ponder about. It's about King Hezekiah, and he was a king who truly honored God, but today it's not his whole story that I want to focus on. It's one bold, beautiful thing that has everything to do with something called Moses' bronze serpent. Wait, bronze serpent? What is that about? At least that's what I asked when I first read it. But if we look back at Numbers 21, the Israelites were wandering in the wilderness, and they were tired, and they were frustrated, and they were worn down. And maybe you've been there too. I know I have. And they had seen God's provision and the miracles, but the journey felt long and exhausting, and their complaints just grew louder and louder. And they kept saying, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt just to die here?" Does that sound familiar? Have you ever asked God, why this season? Why so long? Why this path? And those are very real, very valid questions. But the Israelites' questions, they became bitterness and grumbling, and they forgot the miracles, and they forgot the manna, and they forgot that the journey was about learning to trust God. And because of their grumbling, God sent poisonous snakes, and many were bitten, and some actually died. And it was only then that the people repented and asked Moses to pray for them. And in mercy, God told Moses to make a bronze serpent and put it on a pole. And anyone bitten who looked at it would live. So Moses did it. He made the bronze serpent, and when the people looked at it in faith, they were healed. That bronze serpent became a symbol of God's mercy and healing. But generations later, something shifted, and the people began to worship the bronze serpent itself. They forgot it was God who healed them, and they burned incense to it, and they named it, and they made it an idol. And that's when Hezekiah stepped in, and he broke the bronze serpent into pieces. Why? Because it had become a dangerous idol, and if it wasn't broken into pieces, it would just be rebuilt again. And so here's the question for each of us today. What is your bronze serpent? Is there something you've begun to trust more than God? Maybe something that started as a blessing, but slowly it became your security, your peace, maybe even your source of hope. Maybe it's your own strength, your intellect, advice from others, a relationship, a career, health, money, ministry, youth, comfort. The list goes on, doesn't it? And sometimes the things God gives us to sustain us, to encourage us, to guide us, become the things that we end up relying on instead of Him. And James warns us about this in 1:8. It says, "A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways." And in James 4:4, he says, "Friendship with the world is enmity with God. Whoever chooses to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God." It's tough to hear, but it's true, isn't it? When we put our trust in the world, our plans, our comfort, we drift away from God. But Jesus, He offers us something so much greater. In John 3:14-16, Jesus said, "Just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so must the Son of Man be lifted up, so that everyone who believes in Him may have eternal life." It wasn't the bronze serpent that saved the Israelites. It was their faith, and ultimately it pointed to Jesus. It's not the wood of the cross that saves us. It's Jesus Himself, lifted up and alive, that brings healing and peace and salvation. So here's what I want us to do. Look honestly at your life. Is there a bronze serpent you're clinging to? Something you're trusting more than God? If there is, be brave enough to break it into pieces like Hezekiah did. Break the habits, the attachments, the idols, even if they started out good. Because it's not your strength and it's not your plans that save you. It's Jesus and only Jesus. If this message spoke to you today, I'd love for you to share it with someone who might need it. And if you want more encouragement just like this, subscribe and join me here next time. And let's keep walking the journey, trusting God and God alone. Thanks for being here today.